Hello everybody. First of all, I just want to say thank you for either subscribing or for just watching this video. I'm very new to the world of YouTube. I have been posting reels and shorts on other social media platforms for years, but I've never made anything longer than about 1.5 minutes. So this is completely new to me. I figured what better way to start than to do a studio tour, so you get to see where I work, where I create all my jewellery, where I respond to emails, absolutely everything, where I store all my sea glass, just so you get a bit of behind the scenes and you get to know my working space a bit better. I will go on to do a couple videos about me and how I became a jeweller, what steps I took to get to where I am now, as well as a video going through all of the sea glass that I have, which has been requested a few times. I've just never got around to doing. So there are 2 videos that are coming, but firstly, I want to show you my studio. Before I do that, I want to introduce myself a little bit to anybody who might be new. So my name's Tilly. I started Cove Collections back in 2017 when I was 18 years old. I've been making jewellery ever since I was a little child, and it's honestly been my dream to be a jeweller and for this to be my full-time job. So I'm very, very grateful that this is my life. Before becoming a jeweller, I studied art and design at university. I then taught art and photography at a secondary school for a few years down in Cornwall, which I absolutely loved. However, alongside that, my business was growing and I got to the point where I couldn't do both, and I figured, whilst I'm young and I can take risks, I may as well try and be self-employed full-time and see if it works, and so far, so good. So this is my job now, this is my life. I'm very, very grateful, and yeah, that's me. So first thing to know is that my studio is actually my garage. I would love one day to have a separate space where I work from, but for now, this is amazing. When I was in Cornwall, I lived in a small bungalow and I just worked out of our spare room, which again was great, but it was about 1/3 of the space of this room. So now, instead of having 1 desk, I have 3, and just having that much space makes life so much easier. As I said, my goal, my absolute dream, would be to have a converted shipping container somewhere pretty, whether that be by the sea or in a field, or I don't mind. I'd be completely self-contained, off-grid, maybe have a log burner. Just that would be the dream, which I think is a realistic dream and hopefully I'll get to at some point. But for now, I love my studio space. I'm very, very grateful. I'm very, very fortunate that I have this space to use. So yeah, this is my studio. I've got 3 separate desks that all have 3 different purposes, and I'll go through each of them individually. Firstly, the area of my room which I like to ignore, I call it Chaos Corner. I've always joked and said I work in creative chaos. I'm not a tidy, clean person. That's where I thrive, is when things are everywhere. However, as I've started to run this business full time, I've realised that actually having a clear space does mean also having a clear mind. So I'm learning to work in a different way. This, however, is my Chaos Corner. As well as making jewellery, obviously I taught art as well and I studied art. So I'm a very crafty, arty person. I've always got 101 projects on the go alongside jewellery. So I've got all sorts of crafty stuff in here, including acrylic paints, macrame strings, you name it, and then just life admin stuff. In here though, in this area, this is all of my packaging boxes. So I use cardboard boxes, which are fully recyclable, as well as my actual jewellery boxes. They are also fully recyclable too. So I try and make sure that my posting and my jewellery is as eco-friendly as possible. Shunting over a little bit, I've got my new X tool, which is absolutely amazing. It's opened up so many opportunities for me. I can now engrave silver, I can now make my own packaging boxes. So having this here, and it's so tiny, it's amazing. It's also portable, so if I want to work from my garden on a sunny day, I can do that, which is incredible. So love that. And then down here, I've just got my posting label printer. Not very exciting. just admin stuff for running a business. Over to the slightly more exciting side of my studio, and they are my actual jewellery making desks. I haven't got a jeweller's desk with the cutout semicircle. I just haven't got round to either making myself one of those or buying one. I've just got two basic desks. Over here on this one, this is where I tend to do all of my hammering. So I've got all of my tools here for doing that. So my hammering plates and everything. I can show you all of those in more close up, and I've got all of my stamps, and then I've got all of my pliers and everything else here. It's also where I just store any excess tools. However, I mainly use this separate desk here. And as you can see, where I've got my chair and where I've got my light, this is my main desk setup. I have all of my hammers and my mandrels to hand right here, as these are things which I literally use for every single piece of jewellery that I make pretty much. So having them handy is so important. But also rulers as well. Having a good ruler is imperative when it comes to making jewellery. So I've got those, as well as my files and any other bits and bobs. But this is my main jewellery studio setup space. But over to the side here is where I have all of my soldering gear. I then have my water, my flux, and then any scrap silver I collect in a little bowl so I can reuse it, repurpose it into jewellery. Because as you're probably all aware, the cost of silver and gold is through the roof at the moment. So any bits of silver that I can reuse, I will. Finally, the last section of my working jeweller's desk. This is where I store all of my silver as well as any made jewellery. I don't tend to keep lots of stock. You may notice that my website is mainly jewellery that you purchase and I then make specifically for you. However, after Christmas, when I've got any leftover stock, or if I make multiple pairs of earrings in different colours, this is where I'll store them to make sure that they're nice and safe. I store them all individually in little plastic bags to stop them from tarnishing. I also store all of my findings, so my hoops, jump rings, charms, extender chains, anything like that go into these little boxes, as well as my solder. If you are going to be making jewellery at any point, I would highly recommend having some way of storing your solder clearly. But as I said, this is also where I store all my silver, so I've got all of my wire and then my chains all stored in here too. One thing that people do often comment on my videos and ask is why I've got a slow cooker in my studio. It's because I have to use something called pickle. This basically cleans the silver after you have used heat on it and soldered it. And I have to use warm water, Jeweller's Safety Pickling Powder. I have in the past just used a bowl of hot water or a thermos flask that I'm not going to drink out of again. However, that just felt like water was cooling too quickly, and when I'm working all day, especially at Christmas time when I'm very busy, it is important to be able to keep that water warm. So having a slow cooker on a low temperature throughout the day works really well. Obviously I turn it off whenever I leave the studio, but that's why I've got a slow cooker in my jeweller's studio room. And now finally over to my last desk of my studio space, and it is my white desk. I use this one for if I am sorting out any sea glass or if I am finding sea glass for jewellery that needs to be a certain colour. Having the white makes it so much easier to be able to see the colour of sea glass as opposed to using the mock wood desks that I've got. Also having some bright white light also helps, whereas the lighting in this room is warm. That can change the colour of sea glass quite significantly, so making sure you've got a nice white light is very helpful. Not only is this desk used for sorting out sea glass, but it is also my packaging desk. I've got a few orders ready on the go here, and I've got all of my packaging stuff, so my tissue paper, my jewellery boxes, things like that I use for packing orders. It's all on this desk. But yeah, this is my last desk. As I said, white desk makes it so much easier for sorting out sea glass and showing up those colours really nicely. And lastly, this is where I store all of my sea glass. I will be doing a video going into it in more depth, but I store all of my sea glass in jars. That way I can see the colours quite easily, and I sort it by colour and size as opposed to location unless I found a specific nice piece and then I store it separately. I love it. It makes me so happy. It also makes me happy to be able to see it all and see all the colours. I think it's a great way of storing it. But my next video, or one after that, will be all about sea glass, how I store it, where it's from, all the colours, and I'll show you everything. One last thing to say about my studio space is that, as I said, it's a garage, so I've got a garage door, which is great in the warmer months. All the sunny days, I can have it open and I can have beautiful natural light coming in. But at the moment, the weather is horrible, so I keep that closed, and it is also very cold, which is why in a lot of my videos, I've got a beanie on. I love a good beanie hat. So if you know any really good fluffy ones that aren't itchy, let me know, send me a link, because I'm in the market for a new one. This is my studio space. I love to have that open when I can. I also often have Jago set up in here with his little crate and his bed. Yeah, I'm very lucky. I love this space a lot, and thank you for watching. I hope it's helped anybody who's thinking about setting up their own space and wondering how I do it, or if anybody's just curious about where I spend the majority of my days. But yeah, thanks again, and I hope you guys all have a lovely, lovely day, and follow or subscribe for my next videos about how I became a jeweller, but also about my sea glass, where it's from, how I store it, and the colours.